Violence in North Charleston is on the mind of many people in North Charleston, including North Charleston mayoral candidate John Singletary. I speak exclusively with the mayoral candidate for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. John Singletary.
How you doing, Quintin?
It's been a busy day. And
Very
I thank you for helping me out as far as doing an interview at the last minute, so I appreciate this greatly.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Always a pleasure.
I appreciate it greatly. So obviously you're in the running for North Charleston mayor.
Absolutely.
Where are we with this campaign right now?
Right now, campaign is underway. We really started back in 2015. As you know, we're helping with Stephanie Galloway Paisley run to become the next probate judge, Charleston County, where she will be. And so we're assisting with that. Okay. But after that general election, we'll turn up the burn and be full speed ahead.
What do you want people as we sit here right now to know about the Stephanie Galloway Paisley that you know?
They need to know that, one, she's fair. If someone is fair, then there's not much more you can ask than that. Fundamentally, she understands the law. Probate judge would be no different than what she's done as a judge in the past. She's extremely proficient, so she'll put the time in to learn the nuances of the probate court itself, but she's a hard worker. She's for people, period. White, black, green, yellow, really doesn't matter. Charleston County needs to have a probate judge that not only understands the community from the standpoint of mental health, but also when someone dies, there needs to be programs to better help people who come to the court and training prior to the incident happening. And I think that she will instill those kinds of things in the training curriculum for the people, as well as have programs for the community as a whole. And so they need to know that she is one of us sitting in the seat trying to make sure that there's equal protection of the law and that they're given the services that they need.
Let me turn you back to North Charleston and talk about violence. Live News reports just recently, quote, dozens of people gathered in the Dorchester-Wheeling neighborhood of North Charleston on Wednesday to participate in a Walk to Stop the Violence march. The march included several members of the community and police officers from the North Charleston Police Department. So far this year, North Charleston has seen 16 homicides, including 2 justifiable homicides, unquote. 16 homicides tell you what about what's going on in North Charleston?
It says that fundamentally North Charleston is broken. When you can have the richest city in the state, have the highest per capita homicides, and not be the largest city in the state, as well as be voted #1 in terms of the state's murder capital of the world, and consistently be compared to Chicago when it comes to homicides across the nation, then fundamentally something is wrong. There's nothing wrong with walking the streets, and I hope that works for them. Hasn't worked in the past. When it comes to crime, which most of the property crime in North Charleston is what we're looking at, the only thing that has been proven to deal with that situation effectively has been to make sure that there's parity, fundamental fairness when it comes to jobs, contracts, when it comes to community resources. When there's chronic joblessness over an extended period of time in any community, white, black, or whatever, there's going to be a high crime rate. Crime rate is not high in all of North Charleston, but nor is the unemployment rate high in all of North Charleston. It is primarily in the African American community. We cannot think that something that does not affect the increase in crime rate will take care of correcting the crime rate. Walking the streets does not cause the crime. It is the chronic joblessness, lack of contracts, lack of community resources that cause the crime, and that is the only thing that's going to break it down. and bring it down. And that has been proven through international, national, state, and local reports and research that it is the chronic joblessness. And until we begin to address our underserved community with those things, then it's not going to change. Again, $67 million in contracts in North Charleston. Only 3%, $2 million are put in the African American community. 65 million goes into the other community with very little crime. 18 million in special projects, 180 put in to the African American community with the highest crime, while 17.8 million goes to the low crime neighborhood. When it comes to the $66 million in the wages budget, 10 million going into the African American community. That happens to be 50% of the population with the highest crime rate, so that means 56 million goes elsewhere. The police budget, and we're here to help not only the city, but particularly Reggie. Okay. As our new police chief, that we want to see him be successful. When you've got a $35 million budget, and out of 400 plus officers, only 89 happen to be African American, and when you consider the operational budget, tens of millions, and when a car gets crashed on the police force, the painting, the auto body, when it comes to oil, gas, spark plugs, all those things make up contracts that should be shared equally in the African American community, and that is not happening. Now, one of the other things that must be talked about is the fact that we have got a surplus in North Charleston. I'm talking about overtaxation of $140 million, with $13 million in an unassigned surplus account that is used for everything that you can think of under the sun. And they refuse to tell the public, even with FOIA requests, what it is for. Many have been submitted by NAN and the Chronicle, IHAB, and they refuse to tell us what goes on with the money. The assigned, of course, we can see what happens there. They give loans and everything else out with that money. The government says that you should keep 2 months, 16.67% on hand, that you allow to tax the citizens enough to take care of the services, plus have about 2 months in surplus left over. $17 million for North Charleston. So when we have $140 million in surplus, it simply means that it's a breeding ground for fraud, which a lot of it has happened in North Charleston and is still happening in North Charleston. And this is why I'm adamant about sticking with the contention that the crime rate can be taken care of by simply putting more funding into the communities. Community centers. I plan on building 16 community centers that are comprehensive community centers, and we'll talk a little more about that when we put our next brochure out. Okay. But if you're taxing the people, overtaxing whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and everybody else, and not providing the services to them, then that's mismanagement of city funds. And so, particularly when we see, oftentimes in situations like that, October, November, December, you have large contracts in which millions of dollars are siphoned off the surplus so that the new extended taxes room can be made for them so that it does not tip anyone off. The fund balance account, when you look at the balance sheet, and all you have to do is go to North Charleston under government and then finances, then go down and take a look at the financial reports, and you get the fund balance off of the balance sheet, and it clearly shows $140 million that's there. The government says again, don't overtax the people. So our people are being overtaxed. Transportation's awful. I can do something about the transportation, particularly with $140 million in the budget. we can do something about the fact that over Union Heights area, they're saying that we're not going to do anything about the flooding situation, because North Charleston has a flooding situation just like the city of Charleston. Particularly here in recent years, when we've had some clear cutting, a lot of cement coming in, and nowhere for the water to be soaked up. So it goes into the neighboring communities. And so with that type of money available, why can you not go in and have a comprehensive study done to look at the drainage system and alleviate that problem, not just for Union Heights? There's a flooding problem in Evanston. I recorded where during one of the rainstorms, I mean, people were sliding down the street in a boat, in a rowboat, there in Evanston. We look up off of Ashley Phosphate, Stratton Capers and other places where they actually have a problem with flooding. North side, a problem with flooding. So it's an ever-growing problem that if we don't do something now, it's going to be a major situation that's going to be out of control. And when you're sitting on 140 million and we see things like people getting $3 and $4 million checks that the city refuses to tell what they are for, and then we see those individuals turn around and purchase property that some family member of the mayor gets to move in to that property, it does not look good. It does not look good at all. And that's actually what has happened when you start tracing what's going on with the finances and you start tracing what's going on with the fund balance account and begin to ask questions. It's a problem. We need to address the high crime rate. Something to be done about it. It doesn't take rocket science. The Weed and Seed program that I often refer to that rolled out across the country, it coincides with one of the largest decreases in crime rate in our history as a country. Why? Because funding went behind the issue. Right now, with the tariffs situation going on, I don't mean to get global or national because I try and stay in North Charleston, okay, but they're just appropriated $12 billion to take care of the downfall that's going to happen as a result of the backlash for those taxes. Why? Because it is the funding when they put behind it that allows those farmers to not slip into a situation where now it's helter-skelter, crime increases as a result of property crimes and everything else in the community. When it came to the opioids, they put billions of dollars behind it. Why? Because when you have unrest like that in the community, okay, at a large scale, oftentimes it is because people are masking their pain when the quality of life begins to degrade. In our African American neighborhoods in North Charleston, they have too long, 25 years plus, been in the situation where they have not gotten their fair share of jobs, contracts, special projects, community resources, and it is spilling over into the other areas in the city. It's spilling over into Park Circle. The last two crimes happened in Park Circle. Right. And the first thing was said was that, well, they don't live here. Never heard them say, well, in Ackerby and Union Heights and Murray Hill and Wayland, well, the people don't live here. Why? Because they're trying to protect the property value for the people in Park Circle. They're trying to give them some sense of ease that we can still protect you from the element that's on the outside. And that same type of attitude should permeate the city for all neighborhoods, not just a chosen Park Circle, but for all neighborhoods. And so that is why it is so important that when we have a problem, we arrest it as close to the problem as possible, because it's going to spill over. So people in Park Circle, people in Evanston, people in Westcott, they are not safe just because they are removed from the location, because things are mobile now and people go everywhere.
John Singletary, we'll continue this conversation at another time. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.